Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of my previous video. I decided to do a separate video from the intro video just because I felt like I wanted to talk about this topic a little bit. So, as you can note from the caption, I'm going to be talking about my pregnancy journey. It started off when I found out, like everybody else, found out that I was pregnant. To be honest, it was a bittersweet moment for me. Honestly, I don't think I was ready. It wasn't planned, but it ended up happening. I've always loved children. I've always been very good with children, but I had a plan. I had a very strategic plan of how I wanted my life to go. And at that time, having a child it was too early in my plan. I really pondered about my situation, where I was, how things were for me, how was I going to proceed, and being the type of person that I am, I like to plan things. I like when things go according to plan, even though they never do, and if and when they do, they are somewhat always take a different course at some point in time. But hey, that's what they always say about plans. But to be frank, I was very nervous. I don't think I told anyone about my pregnancy until I was about 4 months to 5 months. I think that's when my parents actually knew. Both my sisters were the only persons who knew about my pregnancy, and my other half, actually. So it was really a handful of people who knew about it, and I was very happy with that, to be honest. For me, I was a very reserved person. I liked keeping to myself, and in keeping to myself, that was my peace of mind. That was how I was always been. Growing up, I was a tomboy, so I was always outdoors playing with the boys and everything. I wasn't a girly type. So because of that, being alone when I don't have anything, activity-wise to do was my peace. After I found out I was pregnant and decided that, okay, we're going to go ahead with this and everything, I think at one point I sort of kind of forgot that I was pregnant, and the nausea was what reminded me that I was. I hated the first trimester. It's the worst, and I think a lot of women do. For those persons who do get nausea and morning sickness, it was the worst part for me. I couldn't wait until my first trimester was over. I fed on crackers and ginger ale. Those were my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When I was actually able to get something down, it wasn't much, and it might have been for just a small period of time. But hey, that was that for the first trimester. I was very lazy. I didn't want to get out of bed. I just wanted to stay in bed. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to just lay around the place, which I think a lot of women actually go through that, because my body wasn't energized. I wasn't eating much. I didn't have any energy to do anything. So that caused that to happen, I guess. Finally, the first trimester was over. I was able to eat. I was able to move up and down. I think one of the biggest things for me was that I tried my best to keep out of house. I took a lot of trips. I went to Ocho Rios, I went to Negril, I went back home, I went to Portland. I was traveling. I think I spent the majority of my time outside of my house when I was pregnant than when I was not. And that's one of the things I encourage a lot of pregnant women to do. Try to get out as much as you can, because when it hits home run, you cannot move. Well, that was the case for me. I tried to do as much as I could during the time I was pregnant, and I encourage a lot of women to do that, just because by the time you get to the finish line and by the time you cross the finish line, you don't have much time to do as much as you would want to do or can do. My second trimester was free flowing. I took a lot of drive outs. I was on the road a lot. And I think a lot of people bashed me for this when I went out. I went to Carnival. The thing about it is that I had a very small tummy. Not much was showing. I didn't start showing until I was about in my late 6 months or 7 months, I believe. I think I went to an event at 8 months and you couldn't even tell that I was pregnant. I think that was when I got a lot of bashing for that. It wasn't just an event, it was my other half's event at the time, and I just went there for support. Other people thought otherwise, but hey, who is even making notes? But still, I enjoyed myself. I danced just the same. I didn't drink. I mean, in my second trimester, I was doing as much as I could, like I said, and I was happy that I did. Because when it came around to the latter part of my third trimester, I couldn't do much. I was 150 pounds, which is unlike me for my body. I'm 5'3", so imagine a 5'3" person with 150 pounds. It took a lot. My feet started getting swollen, and that's where everything took a turn. I laid around the house. I still tried to get out as much as I could. I love the water. I spent a lot of my latter part of my trimester at the pool, at the beach. Yes, mostly at the pool, at the beach, and at the river if I could get to go there. So a lot of my third trimester involved water. And it was good because it was kind of like a therapy for me and my body. I had a lot of lower back aches. Before I was pregnant, I had lower back aches, but they got really bad when I got pregnant. I got 5 shots in my back, in my lower back, before I could deliver, just because of how bad my lower back pains were. I have a natural deep arch, so I don't know if it's because of that, which is also one of the causes. I didn't really read too much into it, to be honest, so I didn't make myself self-aware of the causes of that. I was following this, I signed up for this online online pregnancy tracker. I don't remember what it was, but I can find out and tag it below here. But that kept me abreast of my journey from the day I was conceived to, I think it goes up until 2 years old. I think I stopped right after about a year or so after Chloe was born. But I probably should check back in and see how that's going. But that kept me abreast of all the things that were happening. It did tell me about my lower back pains, and I think it had to do something with the baby's growth and the shifting and all of that. But like I said, I didn't really read too much into it. I did go to about 3 Lamas classes, and they did help. That I can encourage a lot of you women to go, to take your partners, take a friend, take a family member, somebody who you know is going to be around you and your child a lot. It really does help. It's really useful. I remember one time Chloe was choking on ice, and because of the choking practical that we did, it really did help me to, or really did aid in that situation. So I can always encourage you, go to your Lamas classes. They really help, really, really help. So going back to my third trimester, after I was finished with that, I was a week early. I remember going to my sister's birthday party on the Sunday or the Saturday, I believe, and I was dancing up a storm. I remember telling her too that I don't think I'm gonna make it to the due date, just because I felt like my belly was about to burst open. My belly started feeling very tight, my body started feeling very tense. And like I said, I was very active during my pregnancy, so that in fact helped a lot. I was 1 week early from my due date. I went into labor on the Thursday, and might I tell you guys, labor pains or contractions, they're not like period pains for me. Mine were very swift in the beginning. I just felt like I wanted to go pee. I did go pee and came back and thought that it was okay. And then I just went back to bed. So when I came back from, during the time I was lying down, it was like, it came back and I was like, no, I don't want pee again. So I called my sister and I was like, hey, I think I'm having contractions. And she said, okay, I'm coming over right now. I think she was getting ready for work. She came over at about after 7, I believe. I think I started having contractions around 7:30. And I was there. So I started timing my contractions and they were like about 15 minutes apart. So she was like, call your doctor. Call my doc, the wonderful Michael Abrahams. Love him to death. He's amazing, amazing, amazing. And I always recommend him. When I called him, he asked me several questions. When I answered, he's like, okay, you're really having contractions coming now. I went in about 8:30 and he ended up admitting me. Mind you, I didn't have anything to eat before I went in. I didn't have anything to drink either. So I was running on an empty stomach for almost a day. I didn't go into actual labor until 12 o'clock. I had Chloe at 12:05 a.m. And yes, it might sound very quick, but mind you, I was not in the labor room. I cannot, for more than 5 minutes. I was in and out in a jiffy. It was so easy for me based on the stories that I've heard. And this is also one of the other things, guys. It's okay to take advice or hear other people's experiences about their pregnancy journey. However, do not allow it to frighten you. I had a friend who told me about her 10-month pound delivery, and it was horrific. She went through trauma and a lot of physical things. But for me, I appreciated people sharing their stories with me, but I didn't appreciate people who forced advice or forced their experiences on me. I think everybody's journey is different, everybody's experience is different. And I just ask that you respect mine as I respect yours. So when I tell people about my story and my experience, they're like, whoa, you had it good. Or some might be like, wow, it was similar to mine. Or, mine was easier than that. I didn't have any bit of nausea, which was the opposite for me. So with that being said, I actually did make up my mind that I was not going to be horrified or take anything to heart with what persons were saying or just the experiences that they told me about theirs. So for me, it made my journey a bit more smooth and easy just because I took my own little time. I did do my reading. I, took breaks. I did whatever I needed to have that peace of mind. And for me, that was all I needed. I needed that to get through my journey and my experience. And that's one of the things that I can tell you to do. Do what works for you. Do what's best for you. Always follow your doctor's advice. If you must, do your readings. But I had a very supportive family. I had very supportive friends. And because of that, it really did help my journey. I'm so appreciative of my mom. My mom was with me for the first week after I came out of the hospital on the Saturday. I came out, so I had my baby at 12:05 a.m. Friday morning, and I was released from the hospital Saturday morning. I got home Saturday. My mom came up on the Monday, and she was with me until Friday. For the entire time, I didn't do anything other than breastfeeding. Mom made my transition very, very, very easy, very simple. And as much as I can give her props for that, I guess my childhood journey also could contribute to that as well. I helped to look after some of my cousins, even my own little brother, my niece. So those were things that added to my experiences and my transition. But I'm more grateful for my mom than anything else. My mom made sure that for the entire week, I didn't lift anything, I didn't move a finger other than shower. Sometimes I helped her to bathe the baby, but most importantly, she made sure that my health was the number one thing. She made me breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She looked after the baby majority of the time, outside of me breastfeeding. She bathed her, put her to bed, walked her, all of those stuff. So it's important that you have somebody around you in the first few days after having a child, especially for moms who have C-sections or had some form of complication during their delivery. It's so important. But I can't wait to share I can't wait to share a story with a friend of mine who we sat down and had discussion where she didn't have any help whatsoever, not from family or hardly any friends. And it's such a big difference with my story and hers, whereas I had the help of a lot of people around me, she didn't really have that. So I'm glad that I'm also doing this platform so you can see different sides of the perspective, different sides of the stories that you've heard before, some that you've never heard before. And this should be an interesting journey. But I'm hoping that some of the things that I've talked about, it's enlightening. It's something that new upcoming moms can take one or two things from. But I hope you enjoy your journey as much as I did. I wished I had documented more, because now that I'm looking back on some of what I have already documented, it doesn't feel like enough. But I'm grateful for the memories that I have had since then. And let me know if you want me to talk more about some of my experiences in my pregnancies, that I can go more in depth on some of the topics of pregnancy that you'd want to hear more of. I'm always open to talking about those things, always open to talking about my daughter and her growth and everything. So my next video won't be about pregnancy, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to share, remember to like, remember to comment, remember to subscribe. I'm looking forward to sharing this journey with you guys, and thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you on the next video.